Now this is something a little bit different. Hi guys, this is RACKNLOAD and this is the Tac Repeat from ASG. It is a CO2 powered air rifle. Now first of all, let me just get this out of the way. First impressions with guns. With me, as soon as I sort of hold a gun, I'm like, I love it, I hate it, or I don't know. And to be fair, that's wrong in my eyes. It is really wrong, because at first when I got the Tac Repeat out of its box, I thought, okay, it looks pretty cool, but it's a little bit plasticky. I don't know, that's my first impression, and that was a little bit negative, I guess. But when I got this thing out on the range, oh my god, I soon forgot about that. Trust me. So what exactly have we got here then? So this is the Tac Repeat from ASG, or Action Sport Games. It's an 88 gram CO2 repeating air rifle. So it takes the CO2 88 gram, the big screw-in cartridges. I'll show you that in a minute. 12 shot rotary magazines, 177. Talk more about that in a minute. First of all, what I'll do is I'll give you some specs. I'll just refer to the notes on my phone. So the overall length then of this this rifle is 1075 millimeters, or 42.3 inches. Barrel length is 550 millimeters, or 21.65 inches. Mag capacity, like I said, 12 rounds. Weighing in at just over 2.5 kilos, or 5.6 pounds. Power of this thing is 7.5 foot-pounds. I'll talk about that in a minute. You can pick one of these up from around 180 quid, something like that. So it depends where you get it from. So yeah, really quite an interesting rifle. Now, like I said, a little bit plasticky. Do you know what? I'm going to save the good bit for in a minute. Let's just take it from the top. Let's talk about this thing first, and then I'll tell you how good this thing is when you actually shoot it. So first of all, the recoil pad, butt pad, whatever you want to call it, it is quite hard. It's almost just plastic rather than rubber. It is rubber. It is got a little bit of give in it compared to the stock. So yeah, it is what it is. Skeletonized hollow polymer stock. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. It's got like a sling swivel area there. No sign of one on the front though, which is odd. Ambidextrous, nice sort of fat cheek piece there, which is nice. Ambidextrous, let's just swing it round. Ambidextrous pistol grip, and you've got like these slightly stippled panels on either side of the pistol grip. Tang safety, non-automatic, which is my favourite. Manual safety catch, that is cool. And then it's all plastic. You cannot see any metalwork on this rifle. So all the receiver is sort of polymer. You've got polymer, I think it's polymer. Yeah, it feels like polymer. Is it polymer? Oh no, actually, so I'm just doing the cheek test. It's cold. It's yeah, it is a metal Picatinny rail, so that is good actually. It's all right. What confused me there is because it's got a slight bit of Picatinny rail on the fore end there, underneath the fore end, so you can sort of throw on a bipod. Yeah, so all plastic sort of receiver fore end. Again, you've got like that slight stippling, 3 panels on the fore end. Gives a bit of grip. Nice and fat that fore end is, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Shrouded barrel, which is quite nice. I mean, you could say this thing is pretty much weatherproof, because ain't nothing gonna rust on this thing. Looking at the muzzle, There's the muzzle. You've got fibre optic front sight in there, like a metal guard there. Fully adjustable rear sight. But for something like this, I think you'd sort of throw on some sort of optic, little scope, maybe even a red dot. Now, underneath the fore end, you've got a button here, which you press and push, and that slides the fore end off. So there's your fore end, and then it's got your 88 gram CO2 cartridge in there. Sorry ASG, I've got a Numerex CO2 bulb in there. Apologies. They're going to hate me for that. Well, you know, they didn't supply the gas, so what can I say? That's the only one that I could get hold of. But yeah, so moving on. Slap wrist, rack and load, slap wrist. So there is your screw in 88 gram cartridge CO2 bulb. This thing has still got some in, and I had loads of shots out of it, so I haven't really got a shot count, but if I find an actual shot count, I'll put it in the details of the video. But what I will say is flipping loads, which is good because these things are quite expensive. The 88 grammers are. They're like 8 or 9 quid here in the UK. But anyway, once you've put your CO2 cartridge in, the fore end just slides back on and locks up. Now this is where it gets interesting. Now let's talk about the magazines first. Now rotary magazines, now this is the one you do get supplied with. I believe some places that sell these rifles do supply the other magazine, and the reason I say the other magazine is this is the low powered version. So notice it's 177, but notice it's got those smaller holes in there. That's basically to sort of let less gas through, or less CO2 through the magazine to propel the pellet. And that, just reverting to my notes, in essence gives you a lower power. Let me just, sorry, I'm just scrolling through my notes. It actually gives you 1.7 joules of energy, or that in sort of English is 240 feet per second. Okay, so this is a polymer magazine, and you could sort of just say it's restricted with those holes. Sorry guys, I'm trying to get it in the light so you can sort of see it. So yeah, it's a restricted power magazine. But you can get a high power magazine, which I really do not know what I've done with. I've been searching for it for the last half an hour. I cannot find it. I'll throw in a picture of it. It's a metal magazine, unrestricted, and that gives you basically full power. So 8 joules of power, and that relates in English to 580 feet per second. That ain't bad for a CO2 rifle, but it gets better. It gets a whole lot better, because when I first well, let's talk about the loading of it, and it'll sort of lead on. To load this rifle, basically you've got like this, just hold it closer to the camera, you've got like this little doorway here that says open, so you sort of open that up, and basically put your magazine in the right way around. Obviously load your pellets in, put your magazine in like that, close it up, lock it in with that, and then to cock the rifle initially you pull this charging handle all the way back and then all the way forward. Now I took my first shot and I thought, yeah, that's cool. So I don't know why, but I just thought, okay, I guess I've got to pull this lever back for the next shot. Yeah, I know, I should have read the instructions, but unfortunately this rifle that is on test didn't come with any instructions, so I was kind of guessing a little bit. So anyway, took my first shot, pulled the lever back, took a second shot. I thought, yeah, okay, this is pretty cool. But then I thought, well, I'll see what happens if I pull the trigger without sort of pulling this lever back. Anyway, it fired, and then obviously the penny dropped, and I realised that this thing is basically working like a double action revolver. So every time you pull that trigger, it's rotating the magazine. So it's almost like a semi-auto, although it's not, because, you know, technically it's not. It's, you're pulling, as you're pulling the trigger, you're rotating the magazine, and it's not reloading itself. So it's not semi-automatic. It's not reloading itself. So anyway, the realisation of that whilst I was shooting this, and when it sort of finally dawned on me, was really quite pleasing, because this thing, basically, you've got 12 pretty powerful shots. I mean, what did I say, 580 feet per second. You've got 12 shots as fast as you can pull the trigger. That is pretty impressive. And I tell you what, on a hot day when I was testing this thing was throwing the lead down range at quite a rate of knots, and I could tell on my I've got like a thick steel plate backstop at an angle, and I could tell by the sound that the pellets were hitting it that this thing was pushing out a bit of power. So I was pretty much buzzing after the first magazine, and I just pumped loads of magazines through this, and I was just cutting tin cans in half. It was just awesome. So from that initial you know, unboxing, when I thought, oh, it's a bit plasticky, to actually firing this thing, lesson learned on first impressions for me. So yeah, guys, what a cool back garden plinker for under 200 quid. And do you know what, the research I've done on this thing and the power it's pushing out, I think I'd be more than happy slaying like rats with this thing, you know, close range, get some like nice heavy pellets in. I wouldn't have a problem, you know, slaying some rats with it. And with the 12 shots, you know, as fast as you can pull the trigger, you can have some fun doing that, definitely. So yeah, pretty damn impressive. Although, you know, not the, how can we say it politely, most refined of rifles. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Not the most refined of rifles, but for sheer absolute fun in the backyard plinking, and no doubt I've not tried it, but you know, shooting small pests like rats, this thing is ace. Seriously ace. I was quite taken back, to be fair, guys. I really was. Yeah, it's quite a beast when you look at it. You know, it's certainly not small. I think, you know, if you've got a bipod on this thing, a little scope or a red dot, set up on a bench, you know, you're just going to have hours of fun killing tin cans, you know. And there's just something about shooting tin cans and back garden plinking I love. You know, I've used all these firearms and shotguns and whatnot, but do you know what? Nothing beats a bit of back garden plinking. You know, nothing more relaxing, nothing more satisfying than just cutting tin cans in half. But yeah, there you have it, guys. You know, the Tac repeat from ASG 177. And it is a true repeating air rifle. You know, the way this thing was actually shooting, you know, guys, and there was a little bit of recoil because it's pushing a little bit of, well, a fair bit of CO2 out, and what with a little bit of noise from it as well. It was, I tell you what, it felt a little bit like shooting a rimfire. Felt a little bit like shooting a semi-automatic rimfire. You know, but seriously, if you're after a cheapish, under £200, so that's fairly cheap, plinker, you know, stroke, maybe small game slayer, this thing is certainly worth a look at. And with it all being polymer, you know, it's pretty bomb proof as well. But yeah, an interesting one, guys, that I thought I'd throw out there. The ASG Tac repeat. It's certainly changed my opinion of CO2 guns, that is for sure. Anyway, guys, that is it. That is your rack and load review of the ASG Tac repeat. Serious back garden plinking rifle. Thanks for watching. That's Rack and Load. See ya.